the night sky over Earth had never looked so artificial. It began with silent streaks, thin silver lines cutting across the darkness like surgical incisions in the stars. Then came the larger shadows, hulking silhouettes sliding into position, blotting out constellations one by one. Within minutes, every major city was staring at the same impossible sight. A burning ring of alien war fleets had formed above the atmosphere. Admiral Cale Rylan watched the live feed from the Lunar Command Observatory, arms folded, jaw set. Behind him, officers moved and hurried, clipped motions across the command deck, relaying updates, scrambling defense protocols, and trying to understand how the sky had become an occupied zone before they could even raise a warning. "Sir," Lieutenant Mara Hensley said, stepping beside him. "We've confirmed 49 fleets. Multiple species. Full council militaries. They're not hiding who they are. They're sending a message," Cale replied. "And they want it seen." The galactic armadas settled into a geometric formation, perfectly aligned, like a siege ring closing around an ancient fortress. Humanity's cradle. Humanity's only home. The speakers crackled. "Admiral, incoming transmission. High priority. Galactic Council signature." Cale exhaled slowly. "Put it through." A hologram flared to life above the command table. High Chancellor Voran Talakis appeared, tall, angular, with the cold poise of someone who believed history was on his side. His eyes, a pale crystalline blue, held no malice. Only calculation. "People of Earth," Talakis began, his voice resonating through every screen and comm channel across the planet, "your expansion into restricted sectors has violated interstellar decree. Your development of precursor-derived technologies threatens galactic stability. Therefore, the Council delivers a single directive." Cale braced for it. "Surrender all advanced research, dismantle your prohibited facilities, and submit to full technological oversight," Talakis declared. "Compliance will ensure your continued existence." Cale stepped forward. "This ultimatum is indefinite? No negotiation? No discussion?" Talakis' expression hardened. "You have shown an alarming capacity for unpredictable innovation. That trait, if left unchecked, has the potential to ignite another Warbringer era. The Council cannot allow history to repeat." Cale kept his voice level. "We've never attacked your worlds. We've done nothing to warrant extermination. You've done enough simply by existing," Talakis said. "And by refusing to remain within your natural limits." The hologram faded without waiting for response. Silence fell over the deck. A silence of disbelief. Then one of the younger officers whispered, "They've already decided we're guilty." Cale answered without hesitation. "Yes." And they came armed to enforce the verdict. Earth reacted instantly. Panic spread through major capitals. Air raid sirens that had never been used outside drills howled over coastal cities. Satellite feeds showed crowds gathering in open spaces, staring upward as the blockade intensified, each red-lit engine burning like an omen. Cale moved to the Central Command Board. "Patch me through to the Global Sovereignty Directorate." Within seconds, leaders of Earth's United Nations appeared, projected three-dimensionally around him in a circle. Some looked furious. Others terrified. "They mean to break us," President Halden said, voice tight. "We need to negotiate before they decide talking is pointless." Cale shook his head. "You heard their position. This isn't negotiation. It's forced submission." A councilwoman snapped, "If we resist, they'll wipe out every major city. We're not prepared for a full-scale interstellar assault." "We're not prepared for subjugation either," Cale replied. "If we surrender our research, we surrender our future." "And what do you propose?" Halden asked. Cale hesitated only a moment. "We activate Protocol Helios." The room erupted. "No. That project is unfinished. It could kill the test subject. It's a myth more than a plan. We won't gamble humanity on an experiment." Cale raised his voice above the uproar. "Helios is the only advantage we have. The council came because they fear it. That alone makes it invaluable. The directorate fell quiet, uneasy, but listening. Kale continued. You brought me in to defend Earth. I cannot do that with conventional fleets. Not against forces that outnumber us 50-1. We need something that changes the equation. Helios was designed for exactly that. President Halden met his gaze. Even its chief scientist warns it's unstable. Kale's expression softened. I know. I spoke to her earlier. Hours before the blockade appeared, Kale had visited the Helios research facility hidden under the Antarctic ice, an enormous subterranean chamber carved around a precursor artifact the size of a cathedral. His sister, Dr. Isla Rylan, had been there, surrounded by glowing consoles and humming conduits. Unlike Kale's rigid composure, Isla carried an intensity sharpened by years of unanswered questions. You shouldn't be here, she'd told him, removing her gloves. We're still deciphering what Helios is. We don't fully understand the activation core. I'm not here to pressure you, Kale said. I'm here because I need the truth. Can Helios help us? Yes. Isla paused. But not without risk. Helios wasn't built as a weapon. It's a key. A catalyst. It modifies neural architecture. Enhances cognition, perception, maybe more. But we don't know where the boundaries are. Kale had stepped closer. If the council fears it, there's a reason. That's what worries me, Isla said quietly. They know more about this artifact than they admit. Something in their historical records terrifies them. Something about us. Kale had tried to press for details, but Isla only shook her head. Helios changes whoever enters the activation chamber. But I don't know into what. Now, back in Lunar Command, Kale felt the weight of that conversation. A klaxon blared. Mara turned from her station. Admiral, Council fleets have locked Earth into a full orbital cage. They're deploying sterilizer arrays. If they fire. I know. Kale straightened. Transmit my recommendation to the Directorate. You really believe Helios can stop this? Mara asked softly. I believe we've been underestimated for centuries, Kale replied. It's time the galaxy learned otherwise. On Earth, protests erupted in front of major defense ministries as people demanded answers. News drones captured footage of the Council's colossal dreadnoughts outlined against the atmosphere, silent threats waiting to strike. Kale watched the feeds flicker one by one. Human fear radiated through them, but so did something else, defiance. He turned to the communications officer. Has the Directorate reached a decision? They have, sir. She swallowed hard. Helios is authorized for activation. Kale absorbed the words, the world seeming to still around him. Then he nodded once. Good, he said. Signal the Antarctica facility. Tell them I'm on my way. Mara stepped forward. You? Sir, the protocol requires a prime activator. We don't even know if you're compatible. Kale gave a faint, grim smile. We'll find out. As he moved toward the hangar, the view through the station's glass canopy showed the Council fleets adjusting position, their weapons glowing with imminent power. Earth's oceans reflected the hostile shimmer of hundreds of alien engines. Kale stopped just long enough to look out at the blue planet he had sworn to protect. We're out of time, he murmured. If the galaxy wants to see what humanity really is, then we'll show them. He stepped into the shuttle. Destination, Protocol Helios. In the beginning of a transformation no one, human or alien, was ready for. The shuttle descended through a storm of ice and wind, breaking through the white veil to reveal the hidden entrance carved into the Antarctic plateau. Floodlights illuminated a colossal steel aperture embedded in the glacier wall. As the shuttle touched down, Admiral Kale Ryland stepped out into the cold, the chill slicing through his uniform. Security teams snapped to attention. Dr. Isla Rylan emerged from the facility entrance, her expression strained. You got authorization, she said, voice sharp with disbelief. Kale nodded. Helios is cleared. The Council fleets are priming orbital sterilizers. We're down to ours. She turned immediately. Then follow me. They passed through reinforced blast doors that sealed behind them with a heavy echo. The interior descended deep below the ice, through long corridors lined with cables pulsing with a faint, unnatural hum. Cale felt as though the entire structure vibrated with anticipation. Scientists moved with focused urgency. Every console was manned, every display flickering with shimmering patterns that defied easy interpretation. The air carried a subtle charge, as if Helios itself were aware of what approached. "I need a full status report," Cale said. Dr. Oren Sato, Helios's systems coordinator, met them at the lift. "We've completed sequence alignment. The core is stable enough. But activation requires a prime resonant subject. Which must be tested immediately," Isla added. Cale followed them into the lift. It sank for nearly a minute, deeper than any human facility had ever been built, until it opened into the heart of the site. The chamber was immense. A spherical lattice, nearly 100 meters across, hovered above a bed of shimmering conduits. The structure looked grown rather than built, curving filaments of metallic crystal woven together like veins of frozen lightning. At its center lay the activation platform, a circular cradle of overlapping plates. Helios. The room's atmosphere was different. Denser. Charged. Cale felt a faint pressure behind his eyes, like an invisible tide brushing against his thoughts. "This is the reason the Council fears us," he murmured. "No," Isla corrected quietly. "This is the reason they fear what we might become." Cale approached the lattice. Faint patterns of light crawled along its arcs, shifting in ways that didn't follow any recognizable rhythm. "What exactly will this do to me?" Isla hesitated before answering. Helios was built by precursors long before recorded civilization. Its design interacts with the human neural network in a way we don't fully understand. It amplifies dormant cognitive pathways. Enhances predictive reasoning. Possibly more. Cale studied her. "And the risks?" "Unknown," Isla said. Her voice didn't waver, but Cale saw the tension in her posture. "Your mind may adapt seamlessly. Or it may overload." Oren added, "We've tested resonance simulations. Your neural signature aligns with the activation profile better than anyone else on Earth." Cale gave a faint, almost humorless smile. "So I'm statistically favored to survive the unknown." "Statistically," Oren confirmed. Before Cale could respond, alarms chimed throughout the chamber. A comm officer rushed in. "Dr. Rylan, the blockade fleets just shifted formation. They're deploying their primary arrays." Isla's eyes narrowed. "How long before they fire?" "Hard estimate, 3 hours. Maybe less." Cale straightened. "That's our deadline." He stepped toward the activation platform. Isla caught his arm. "Cale, once we start, there's no safe abort. The lattice will bind to your neural structure instantly. If we don't start," he said, "Earth dies." She looked at him for a long moment, fear mixing with determination. Then she released him and nodded to the team. "Begin preparations." The chamber darkened as auxiliary lights dimmed, and the core of Helios brightened with a slow, pulsing glow. The lattice awakened fully, its filaments resonating with low tones that vibrated through the air like distant thunder. Cale removed his uniform jacket and stepped into the cradle. The plates shifted, molding themselves to his shape. Cold metal touched his skin. Tiny points of light climbed up his arms, scanning his neural activity. Isla stood at the control console, hands hovering over the activation interface. Scientists watched from elevated platforms, tense and silent. "Helios, initialize subject Delta 1, Isla commanded. The lattice responded with a rising hum. The lights rippled outward like concentric waves. Cale braced. "Subject readings stable," Oren reported. "Neural engagement beginning." Cale felt the first surge, like a jolt of electricity rushing through every nerve at once. His breath caught. A second wave followed, warmer, spreading through his skull. His vision flooded with color, shapes danced at the edge of perception. "Kale, talk to me," Isla said. "It's intense," he managed. "But clear. Everything feels sharp." Proceeding to phase 2, Orin announced. The lattice opened above him, forming a vortex of spiraling light. Threads of energy descended toward Kale, striking his chest, spine, and skull. His mind exploded outward, awareness expanding into patterns he had never known were possible. He saw glimpses of cities built beneath alien suns. Structures curved in ways no human architecture could replicate. Beings of shimmering light walking through halls of crystal. Voices speaking in tones that resonated through stone, water, and air at once. Precursor visions. Kale gripped the cradle as the experience intensified. He felt himself sinking and rising simultaneously, his thoughts separating and reconnecting as if reorganized by invisible hands. Isla's voice cut through the storm. "Kale, can you hear me?" "Yes," he gasped, though his voice sounded distant. Neural resonance surpassing expected thresholds, Orin said urgently. "He's absorbing the sequence faster than anticipated." Kale's heartbeat thundered in his ears. The vision sharpened. Threads of information unraveled before him, mathematics that felt like memory, physics woven into intuition, complex systems rendered as instinct. He could sense patterns in everything, energy flows in the chamber, vibrations in the metal, even the micro-adjustments of Isla's hands on the console. The lattice brightened to blinding intensity. "Final phase!" Isla shouted. "Kale, hold on." The last surge struck him like a star igniting. Every nerve ignited with searing clarity. His perception fractured into 1,000 vectors, then reformed into a singular, radiant cohesion. Silence followed. The lattice dimmed. The energy faded. The glow receded into the crystal filaments. The cradle released its hold. Kale lay still. "Kale?" Isla whispered, stepping forward. His eyes opened. But they were no longer the same. A shimmering film of luminescent gold flickered across his irises, like distant starlight trapped behind glass. He inhaled slowly, as if rediscovering the act. "Isla," he said softly, "I can see the Council's attack patterns. Their weapon arrays. Their formation intentions. It's all obvious." Isla's breath caught. "You're perceiving real-time strategy projections?" "I'm perceiving everything," he replied. His voice carried a quiet certainty. "Their timing. Their weaknesses. The path to survival." He stood, steady and calm. "Helios didn't change me into something else." He looked at the lattice behind him. It revealed what humans were always meant to become. Alarms suddenly blared again. The comm officer burst back into the chamber. "Admiral, Council fleets have locked targeting systems on Earth. The countdown has started." Kale turned toward the exit, the new clarity settling into purpose. "Then humanity fights back," he said. "And this time, we're not fighting blind." Kale stepped out of the Helios chamber with a steadiness that didn't belong to the man who had entered. Isla followed close behind, watching him as if he might dissolve into light at any moment. The air around him felt subtly warped, charged, as though reality bent itself a fraction of a degree to accommodate his presence. The comm officer's voice cut through the tension. "Admiral, the Council has begun the countdown sequence for orbital sterilization. First volley is minutes away." Kale didn't rush. He moved with a measured confidence, as if each step already fit within a larger pattern only he could see. "Patch me to Lunar Command," he said. As the lift ascended toward the surface, Isla studied his expression. Gone was the strain. Gone was the hesitation. "Any pain?" "Disorientation?" she asked. "None," Kale replied. "The noise is gone. Everything is clean." "Clean?" Isla repeated. Kale turned to her. "Thoughts sit in order. Futures align into probabilities. Options reveal themselves." A faint smile touched his lips. "Helios didn't overload me. It translated me." The lift doors opened to a landscape of swirling ice and approaching aircraft. A shuttle waited, engines primed. Kale boarded without hesitating. As they lifted off, the pilot spoke over his shoulder. Vanguard fleet reports enemy shifters moving into attack vectors. We don't have time for formal coordination, Admiral. Kale's eyes glimmered. Yes, we do. The pilot blinked, unsure how to respond. Kale leaned forward. Transmit new orders. Vector realignment 12.6. Deploy flanking wings to intercept coordinates 291, Alpha Grid. Bring the heavy carriers behind the lunar shadow for ambush positioning. The pilot frowned. Sir, that's predicting movements they haven't taken yet. They will, Kale said simply. The shuttle broke the clouds and soared into orbit. What awaited them was a spectacle of overwhelming scale. The Galactic Council's blockade had tightened, ships arranged in flawless arcs, vast cruisers, luminous dreadnoughts, and spire-like vessels built by civilizations older than Earth's recorded history. Each vessel burned with lethal potential. Inside Lunar Command, officers paused when Kale entered. They saw his altered eyes, the unnatural calm radiating from him, and stepped aside without being told. Mara Hensley approached him carefully. Admiral, we're preparing the defensive grid. But their first strike is synced across fleets. We estimate casualties in. Kale looked at the tactical display. 17 million if unopposed. Mara froze. You calculated that instantly? I didn't calculate, Kale said. I observed. Before she could respond, the Council's signal cut into every comm line. High Chancellor Voron Talakis appeared again, but this time his composure wavered. Behind him, aides shouted, and alien interfaces flickered with warnings. Earth, Talakis said sharply, you have activated the precursor construct. That action is a direct violation of the stabilization charter. You are now designated a Class Black threat. Kale stepped forward. Then speak plainly. You intend to erase us. We intend to prevent another Warbringer, Talaki shot back. Your species was never meant to reawaken those capabilities. Kale studied him with unsettling clarity. You're afraid of what we might become. We're afraid of what you were designed to become. Talaki shouted. The precursors didn't uplift your kind, they forged you as successors. They built you to outpace the galaxy. Kale's expression softened almost sympathetically. You misunderstand us. The precursors did not build weapons. They built heirs. Talakis glared at him. Then you leave us no choice. The transmission cut. And the sterilizer arrays began to glow. Kale placed his palm on the main console. Open fleet-wide channel. All units listening, Mara said, voice quivering. Kale spoke calmly, each word landing with the weight of certainty. Humanity, stand fast. Do not break formation. The Council fires in 37 seconds. We intercept in 31. Officers exchanged alarmed looks. Stand by for maneuver instructions, Kale continued. The display shifted as he began issuing orders, rapid, precise, and seemingly impossible. Redirect destroyer wings Cobalt and Orion to converging intercept paths. Shift all pulse shields to the fourth harmonic. Lock carriers in lunar shadow until my mark. Mara stared. That timing, no human could calculate this on the fly. Kale glanced at her. I'm not calculating. The room fell silent. 5 seconds, Kale said, gazing at the expanding beams of light forming along the alien fleets. Outside, Earth's defensive formation tightened. Engines flared. Ships moved like pieces of a vast mechanical organism guided by a single mind. 3 seconds. The alien weapons reached full acceleration. 2. Kale lifted his hand. 1. Now. The sky erupted. Sterilizer beams lanced toward Earth, columns of blazing white capable of liquefying continents. But before they struck the atmosphere, human interceptors, guided by Kale's uncanny foresight, slashed across the beam's paths. Their combined shielding fractured the volleys into splinters of harmless light that scattered across space. Mara covered her mouth. We stopped it. Kale wasn't watching the beams. He was watching the Council fleets reorganize. They're switching to plasma crescents, he said. Counterattack now. He sent directives faster than any tactical system could process. But human ships followed flawlessly, guided by the clarity of his voice and the trust he'd earned long before Helios changed him. The Vanguard fleet surged forward. Human cruisers weaved through the alien formations, striking weak points the Council never thought exposed. Enemy shields collapsed in patterns Kale had predicted minutes earlier. Dreadnoughts buckled under concentrated barges. For the first time since arriving, the Council line faltered. On the flagship Oralate monolith, Talakis watched the chaos unfold with disbelief. How are they doing this? Their ships aren't improving, their strategy is. A counselor shouted, they move like they're reading our intentions. Talakis' voice cracked. Impossible. But the data said otherwise. Kale Rylan was doing the impossible. Back in Lunar Command, Kale closed his eyes for a moment. The lattice of combat patterns unfolded across his mind like a living tapestry. I see the conclusion, he whispered. Mara leaned closer. And what is it? We win. He opened his eyes. Patch me through to the Council flagship. Seconds passed. Then Talakis reappeared, visibly shaken. Kale faced him. Your fleets are breaking. Your calculations are failing. You understand why. Talakis swallowed. Helios altered you. Helios revealed us, Kale corrected. Human potential isn't a threat. It's our inheritance. Talakis' fear twisted into anger. We will not bow to a civilization that manipulates precursor relics. You already did, Kale said. You feared us before we touched Helios. You feared what you knew we carried. Talakis slammed a fist against his console. You will not ascend at our expense. Kale stepped closer to the hologram. We're not here to conquer. We're here to survive. And we won't be erased to comfort your old ghosts. He raised his hand. A coordinated human strike, synchronized to the millisecond, disabled the flagship's weapon arrays and shattered its targeting systems without destroying the vessel. The room behind Talakis went silent. Kale spoke quietly. Stand down. Or you won't have enough ships left to flee. Talakis stared at him, rage, awe, and resignation swirling together. Then he gave the order. Cease fire. Across orbit, the alien barrage flickered out. Human ships held position. The war front froze. Kale exhaled once. The weight of the entire planet felt lighter. Mara whispered, we did it. Kale shook his head gently. We started something. He turned toward Earth, a world that had just defied extinction. Isla was right, he murmured. The precursors didn't vanish. They transcended. And they left the door open for us. The glow in his eyes deepened. And now, humanity has taken its first step through. Silence spread across near-Earth orbit like dust after a storm. The Council fleets drifted in scattered formations, their weapons dimmed but their intent still unreadable. Human ships held firm, shields steady, waiting for the next move. No one believed the conflict was finished. Inside Lunar Command, the lights flickered as damaged arrays rerouted power. Isla hurried into the main strategy hall, her steps quickened by concern. She found Kale standing at the center console, staring at the hologram of Earth below. Your vitals are unstable, she said. Helios rewrote more than we predicted. You need diagnostics before you collapse. Kale didn't turn. Later. You don't have later, she insisted. Your neural activity is climbing beyond safe thresholds. If you push further. I won't break, Kale said quietly. Isla stepped closer, lowering her voice. You're changing too fast. Whatever Helios unlocked, it has no ceiling. You need grounding, something to anchor your cognition. Kale finally looked at her. His pupils shimmered with faint geometric lines, like circuitry woven into living tissue. "I'm anchored," he said. "You're the anchor. Humanity is the anchor." It wasn't reassurance. It was certainty. Before Isla could respond, the comm systems crackled. "Admiral," Mara announced, her tone urgent, "the Council is requesting a formal negotiation link. Chancellor Talakis is speaking for all fleets." Kale pressed his palm to the console. "Open the channel." The holographic display shifted. Talakis appeared again, but exhaustion weighed heavy on his features. The confident authority from earlier had drained away. "Admiral Rylan," Talakis began, "we acknowledge your unexpected capability. The Council proposes a ceasefire while we determine the conditions for containment." Kale's jaw tightened. "Containment is not an option." Talakis frowned. "You misunderstand. We are offering a chance to prevent escalation. If your species agrees to halt precursor development, we will withdraw." Mara muttered under her breath, "They still don't get it." Kale leaned forward. "We didn't activate Helios for power. We did it to survive. If we revert to fear and limitation, we will remain vulnerable forever." "We prefer you vulnerable," Talakis replied, voice thin. "A species capable of what you displayed cannot be allowed unchecked." Kale's gaze sharpened. "Yet the galaxy is allowed to stand unchecked before us? The precursors didn't chain themselves. Why should we?" Talakis inhaled slowly. "Admiral." "Kale, listen to me. Every civilization that touched precursor inheritance before you tried to ascend beyond natural constraints. Not one survived it. The technology you wield is an evolutionary accelerant, potent, unpredictable, and irreversible." Isla flinched at those words. Talakis continued, "The greatest danger is not your power over us. It is your power over yourselves." Kale remained silent, listening. "There are no stories of species like yours flourishing," Talakis said. "There are only ruins, planets stripped to mantle, echoes of consciousness embedded in fractured star stations. If you believe the precursors transcended peacefully, you do not understand their tragedy." A weight settled over Lunar Command. Isla felt her throat tighten. "Kale, he's not wrong about the missing records. We never found proof of precursor ascension. Only assumptions." Kale closed his hand around the console's edge. "You distrust us because you fear the path we are on. But fear will not shape our future. Choice will." Talakis exhaled. "Then choose caution. If we leave you now, you will accelerate your advancements. And the next time we meet, you may no longer be recognizably human." Kale's voice steadied. "Humanity is not defined by limits." "No," Talakis countered. "It is defined by boundaries you can break without losing yourself." His image flickered. "Admiral, I beg you to consider this. Retreat from this precipice while your mind remains your own." The channel closed. The room held its breath. Mara paced. "We cannot trust them. If we halt development, they'll return with reinforcements the moment they feel threatened." Isla stared at Kale. "He believes you're unraveling. That Helios is pushing you into territory no one has survived." Kale looked down at his hands. They trembled faintly, not from fear, but from energy seeking direction. "They're not entirely wrong," he said. Isla's voice softened. "Then let us help you." Kale shook his head. "If I step away now, the Council regains confidence. They regroup. They strike again with greater force. Humanity stays trapped beneath an ancient hierarchy." "So your answer is full escalation?" Isla asked. "No. Evolution." Mara raised a brow. "That sounds like escalation with poetic phrasing." Kale allowed himself a faint smile. "Maybe." The room dimmed as the tactical display updated. Human ships continued forming a defensive net around Earth. Council vessels held position at a distance, observing, calculating, waiting. Kale walked toward the panoramic viewport. Space stretched before him, vast, silent, waiting to be rewritten. We're at a crossroads, he said. If we retreat into fear, we become dependent on the mercy of a frightened galaxy. If we overreach blindly, we repeat the mistakes of the precursors. Isla folded her arms. You're proposing a third option? Yes, Kale said. We define our own way forward. Mara frowned. And practically, what does that entail? Kale turned back to them. A demonstration. Isla's eyes widened. Kale, no. You're already pushing your neural limits. Another enhancement could fracture your identity. I'm not seeking enhancement, Kale replied. I'm seeking clarity. The Council needs to see that we are not reckless. That our power is directed, not wild. Mara crossed her arms. And how do we prove that without escalating? Kale pointed to the hologram. It displayed a Council dreadnought, massive, shielded, capable of leveling continents. We disable their largest ship without harming the crew. Isla stepped forward quickly. Kale, that level of focus. I can do it, he said, calm but firm. Isla grabbed his wrist. At what cost? Kale held her gaze. At the cost of our future if I don't. She let go slowly, her expression torn between fear and trust. Mara exhaled. If this backfires, we ignite a full war. Kale nodded. If it succeeds, we shift the galaxy's narrative of us. Not a threat. Not prey. Something new. He closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, the glow was brighter. Prepare the fleet, he said. This ends with understanding, not annihilation. Minutes later, Kale stepped into the central command cradle. Neural cuffs locked around his temples, linking him to Earth's tactical lattice. Energy pulsed through the room as the system synchronized with his augmented mind. Isla monitored the readouts. Your cognitive patterns are climbing. Slow your breathing. Kale breathed once, steady. He reached outward, not with hands, but with intention. Human ships responded instantly. The lattice tightened. Power converged. Across the void, the Council dreadnought glimmered with layered shields. Its captains watched nervously as human formations aligned. Targeting arrays online, Mara said. Strike pattern critical if you want precision. I know, Kale murmured. He guided the fleet like a conductor. Every human ship moved according to his vision, swift, silent, coordinated. Energy pulses formed an intricate waveform, weaving through the dreadnought's shields without rupturing them. Talaki's appeared on a startled comm burst. Admiral, what are you? Kale whispered, showing you who we are. The waveform pierced the dreadnought's core systems. Lights across the ship flickered. Weapon arrays shut down. Engines powered off one by one. The dreadnought drifted, intact but helpless. Not a single life lost. Silence followed. Then Talaki spoke softly, awe threading through his voice. You achieved a surgical deactivation across 20 shield layers, without damage. Kale breathed out slowly. His voice was steady. We choose restraint. Remember that when you consider our potential. The channel cut. Kale slumped slightly, but did not fall. Isla rushed to him, supporting his arm. You're burning yourself from the inside. You need rest. Kale managed a faint smile. Not yet. Mara turned from the console. The Council fleets, they're withdrawing. Isla's breath caught. It worked. Kale looked toward the fading enemy armadas, the void still humming with the memory of conflict. This was only the beginning, he said quietly. Humanity stepped into the unknown today. He straightened, even as strain crossed his features. And now we must learn how to live with what we've become.